you'll find some great enhancements in update 15 of ClassMon. First up, we'll just look under settings at the school settings. When you first add yourself as a user to set yourself up as a teacher, the term dates will now be set up automatically based on the Queensland and Victorian term dates. Now you can come through and change those dates if need be. The other change you'll notice on the settings screen is this new field called report title. This gives you the ability to name the title on your report. If you're familiar with the previous versions of ClassMon, the reports were always called Semester 1, Semester 2, depending on the date. You can now change that. If you don't want to title the report Semester 1, you can add your own report title here, which will then feed through to the reports. Next up, we've made some changes to the multiple observation. So if we select some students, or select all our students, and choose the multiple observation button, you'll see now, if you're familiar with the previous versions, we've split this interface down here into a female and a male comment, and also an additional comment field for both female and male. This gives you more space to write your comments, and you can differentiate the male from the female comments. So when it feeds through to the reports, it will be in the correct gender. So you'll still get your automatic comments come through from the rubric, and that's another change. You now get to see the comment before you apply it, and then you can also add to the comment here if you need to adjust that, and you can use the variable name to insert the child's name. And we suggest that if you do a female comment and you need that in the male, just copy that down. So do a copy and paste down to here, into there. So you can change your rubric comment using the name variable, and you can also do additional comments, again doing the name variable. Remember, name is always in uppercase when you want the student's name to auto insert. Okay, and now for the big one, the checklists. We've enhanced the checklist feature. In previous versions of ClassMon, we've always made it quite clear that the checklists were added just as a trial, just to get feedback from users. So we collected the feedback over the last 6 to 12 months, and we've added some great new features. First up is that you can now store 10 checklists, and these are stored against the student. So if you click your checklist tab, you can access the 10 checklists, and you'll see the ones that are associated with the student you've chosen. So we're first going to step into the checklist manager and see how you build a checklist. So there are 10 preset checklists, and you can go through and fill any of those checklists and then associate any of them with any of the students. So we're going to build checklist 1. It's blank at the moment, and we just have a few dot points here for a checklist. So we'll just copy and paste the text from here, and we'll call this our comprehension checklist, and we'll give it 10 rows and 2 columns. The first column will be for what we are checking, and the second column can be for the comments. Now be careful when you do set this up, because you need to get the right amount of rows, because it's not possible to come back and add rows later once they've been associated with the student, because when you set this up, it adds this checklist to the database, and it can't be edited later. So we create the checklist, and it's just a simple 2-column table. So in this first column, we're going to put our title, does the student, and we'll just stretch our column so it fits there, and then we'll start adding the questions that we're asking. So take this text and double click into the cell and add that there. Okay, and again we can stretch that right out if we need that. And we continue on, just grabbing our text, copying, double clicking into the cell and pasting. And I'll continue on and build that. Okay, so I've now added all the rows or all the row information for our checklist, and I can now save that checklist. So it's saving as a checklist called comprehension. We OK that. Now if we leave our checklist editor and go to our manage classes, in this last tab here we can allocate our checklist to our classes. So we've made a new comprehension checklist there, and there's no ticks because we haven't associated that with any students. So I can select students or just select all the students to associate the checklist with and hit apply. And that successfully saves that checklist to our students. So now when I come to Adam and look at his checklist, I can now start recording information against the comprehension checklist. These fields are auto expanding, so as I write comments in here, so what's the question? Answer why questions with an explanation. Yes, Adam is grasping this well. Okay, and when I leave that field, it will auto expand to fit that text in. So it's just a matter of recording the information you need against this checklist for this student. And that will automatically save. There's no save button. That just inserts into the database. So you can go and move to another checklist or to another student where you've associated the checklist, and you can continue recording for this checklist. Now what happens is you can actually print reports based on the checklist. So if we choose Adam and go to our reports button, it will list all the checklists that are associated with Adam, plus the learning records summary, etc., the reports we've had before. So if I want to print the comprehension report, I check the box and hit OK, and that will give me a report on this checklist and where Adam is at the moment, and that can be printed or we can generate a PDF. And finally, the other exciting feature we've added for checklists is the ability to import and export the checklist we've made. So here I've made a comprehension checklist, and while I look at that, just one point to note about the name of the checklist. You can only use upper and lowercase letters. You can't use numbers and you can't use spaces. That's just because that name has been recorded into the database, and we have to just allow certain characters. So we want to export this checklist to share it with another teacher. We just choose the checklist up here, comprehension, and hit the export button, and it will auto name to the checklist name and give the extension CKL, which is the extension for ClassMon checklists, and we just save that to our hard drive. We can then just take that file and email it or copy it to a teacher's flash drive or to the network, and then they'll be able to hit the import button and import the checklist to any of their 10 checklists, and then they can associate it with their students and start recording against it.